serving the temple along with Mataji. They are exemplary for many, many Indian couples. And I got in touch with them through a devotee couple there. Yeah. So thank you very much, Devaprastha Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. I'd like to welcome both of them by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Raja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Raja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Raja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanandi. Dharma Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Pragraj, Katar Astar, Sata Shishmat, His Divine Grace, Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Guntra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So I have to beg all of you, please pray for me and give me your blessings. I was not expecting to give class this morning. I was looking forward to hearing Sri Gaura Prabhu's class. Fortunately, by your blessings, I can be somehow empowered to speak something pleasing to the devotees and pleasing to their lordships and pleasing Srila Prabhupada. The last time we were at this temple was, I don't remember how many years, 6 or 7 years ago. And I think the temple, this is the same one, this is the new one. This big building was not here. This is the new temple. So this spot was like a hole in the ground, if I remember. The temple was behind, and they had the plans. And so this is very inspiring to see how it's evolved with your enthusiasm. Okay, so I don't have my glasses, so you have to bear with me here. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 4, Text 24. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chava Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadiriya. Shunvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunati Sri Tatam Nasta Praishu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Vasevya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki Vanchakapa. That's okay, yeah. Vanchakaba Trubhyastra Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Anantakoti Vaishnavvrindaki Jai. Maitreya Vacha. You guys have the words? You see, okay. All right, let's see if we can get this. To tell me if this is the wrong meter here. Itid adarve daksham anuja shatruhan. Shritavudi chim nishada shantavak. Shristajalam pita dukula samvita. Nimilya Driyoga Patam Samavishat. Maitrevacha iti dare dakshamanuja shatruha shitavudi chim nishasada shantavak Shprisvajalam pita dukula samvita Nimilya Drigyoga Patam Samavishat. Maitrevacha Itirve Daksham Anuruja Shatcham Shitavudicim Nishadasantavak Maitrevacha iti advare kshmanitra satyam tavudicim nishada shantavak Shrisvajalam pita kula samvrita Nimilya Drigyoga Patam Samavishat. Maitrevacha Chachahan Shitavudicim Nishasada Shantavak Shrisvajalam pita dukula Nimilya Driyoga Patam Samavishat. Maitrevacha Iti Daksha Satyam Shitavudicim Nishasada Shantavak Shrisvajalam pita dukula samvita Yogapatam Sangasa Pitadavaya Dakshamanija Shatchahan Shitavudicim Nishasada Shantavak Shrisvajalam pita dukula samvita Nimilya Drigyoga Patam Samavishat. Maitrevacha Maitreya said, Iti, thus, Advare, in the arena of sacrifice, Daksham to Daksha, Anuja, speaking, Chatruhan, O annihilator of enemies, Shito, on the ground, Udichim, facing north, Nishasada, sat down, Shantavak, in silence, Shprisva, after touching, Jalam, water, Pita Dukala Samvrita, dressed in yellow garments, Nimilya, closing, Drik, the vision, Yogapatam, the mystic yoga processes, Samavishat, became absorbed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Maitreya the sage told Vidura, O annihilator of enemies, while thus speaking to her father in the arena of sacrifice, Sati sat down on the ground and faced north. Dressed in saffron garments, she sanctified herself with water and closed her eyes to absorb herself in the process of mystic yoga. Purport. It is said that when a man desires to quit his body, he dresses in saffron garments. Therefore, it appears that Sati changed her dress, indicating that she was going to quit the body given her by Daksha. Daksha was Sati's father. So instead of killing Daksha, she decided that it would be better to destroy the part of his body which was hers. Thus she decided to give up the body of Daksha by the yogic process. Sati was the wife of Lord Shiva, who is known as Yogeshvara, the best among all yogis, because he knows all the mystic processes of yoga. So it appeared that Sati also knew them. Either she learned yoga from her husband, or she was enlightened because she was the daughter of such a great king as Daksha. The perfection of yoga is that one can give up one's body or release oneself from the embodiment of material elements according to one's desire. Yogis who have attained perfection are not subject to death by natural laws. Such perfect yogis can leave the body whenever they desire. Generally, the yogi first of all becomes mature in controlling the air passing within the body, thus bringing the soul to the top of the brain. Then when the body bursts into flames, the yogi can go anywhere he likes. This yoga system recognizes the soul, and thus it is distinct from the so-called yoga process for controlling the cells of the body, which has been discovered in the modern age. The real yoga process accepts the transmigration of the soul from one planet to another, or from one body to another. And it appears from this incident that Sati wanted to transfer her soul to another body or sphere. Omagyan Timrandasya Gnajana Shlaka Shakshar in Miltamina Taz my Shri Gove Nama. So this is a profound lesson for us, and there's a few points here of note. One is this saffron dress. We have brahmacharis wear saffron, sannyasis wear saffron, satis wearing saffron, because the idea is to give up this conception, I'm this body, I'm a spiritual entity, my life is dedicated to spiritual activity. Of course, everyone, even grihastas and bhaktas and bhaktins may not wear saffron, but we still have the same understanding that this body is not the identity. The soul is a spiritual entity, Satchidananda. And so Sati understood that. In Vaishnava etiquette, if one offends the spiritual master or even other devotees, someone blasphemies devotees or blasphemies the spiritual master, there's rather harsh treatment. You're supposed to either kill the person, cut out their tongue. If you can't do those two, then you have to leave that place. Because if you stay there and listen to devotees being blasphemed, as what to speak of the spiritual master, in this case, Lord Shiva was Sati's spiritual master, in a sense. And so if you stay there and listen to it, then your life is finished. You'll be very difficult to make advancement. So at least we can reject those things. We cannot listen to it and leave that place. In this day and age, it's not practical to kill them or cut out their tongue. But at least we can not tolerate listening to that. So Sati was of that state. She said that this is an offense I cannot tolerate. And in this Vedic times, this was not uncommon. To this day, we call it the Sati rite. Everyone knows what the Sati rite is? Anyone not know? Why do we know this? From this verse, right? Because Sati set the example. Look, you've offended my husband. I'm giving up this body. Not that that's something that has to be done or we have to force upon people. But the idea is that she understood on the deepest level, I'm not this body. This body is like an old shoe. It's got holes in it, I need to replace it. So give it up. There's no attachment there. Just like when our clothing becomes old and torn, then we exchange it and get a new one. So she had this consciousness that my life is not my body. This body belongs to this person. This person has offended my husband, so this body has no value. So this is the point we have to come to. Of course, the body has value. It has value in that with this body we can perform devotional service. So it's a very powerful tool. So we should use it. If we give it up prematurely or artificially, then we're taking a gift that has been given to us and we're misusing it. So this is not good. But we have to come to the understanding that this body is not me. Earth, air, fire, water, ether. When I first started reading Bhagavad Gita, all of you are very fortunate. You're born in a country, in a place where this Bhagavad Gita is saturated. All the particles of dust in India. This Bhagavad Gita is not a foreign thing to you. But to me, it was a foreign thing in the West. I was raised as a Christian. And they have some philosophical, they understand God is there. Not a lot of detail about him. But when I first read the Bhagavad Gita and I saw this idea of earth, air, fire, water, ether, that makes up the material body. That made sense to me. Okay, I can wrap my head around that. And then it went on to say earth, and then mind, intelligence, false ego. These are also material. And that's where my brain just did somersaults. I'm like, wait a minute. Mind, intelligence, false ego. I was attached to my mind. My mind worked fairly well. I read a lot of books, and I thought I was very intelligent. I thought, you're telling me all this mind and this sense of my ego and my intelligence are material also. And then beyond that is the soul. And so that really captivated me. I thought, wow, I have so much to learn. Because what to speak of this material body, even mind, intelligence, and ego, and false ego. Of course, there's a real ego, our true identity as a servant of the Supreme Lord is there. But the false ego, this ahankara, this thinking that I'm the doer, there's some sense of I. For a devotee, for a pure devotee, there's no sense of I. Everything's Krishna. Krishna, what am I? I'm simply dasana dasana. I'm a servant of a servant of a servant of Krishna. That's the I. The center, the main personality is Krishna. The false ego is I. I'm doing this. Not only I, there's a sense of I, and then there's a sense of I am doing. And there's a nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Prakriti kriyabanani. I'm forgetting the rest of it. Ahankara vidhumaha kartaham iti manyate. Sorry, I used to know this verse, now I'm forgetting. So this sense that I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and we become very proud of ourselves. We go to school, we study very hard, we get a PhD, we get a degree, we get a business card with lots of initials after our name, we get a job as a CEO, we make lots of money. We think, I did this, I put in the effort, I studied, and I got the test scores, and then I got the job, and then I got promoted, and there's I. But what we fail to realize is the intelligence that was used to pass the exam, to get the degree, to become a CEO, that intelligence isn't ours. That was given to us. Krishna said, here, you can have some intelligence, you can have some ability. And so we do these things, and then we take credit for them. Yes, I'm so smart, I'm so powerful, I'm so knowledgeable. But that intelligence, that mind, all these things don't belong to us. So therefore, they should be used in Krishna's service. Otherwise, we're like a thief. The bank teller is exchanging money and puts some in his pocket. He's not going to last very long as a bank teller. So when we understand this, as Sati did, that we can see this body is useful to the degree it can render service. And when it gives that up, then when it is no longer useful for that purpose, then this body can be given up to get a fresh body so that we can render service, ideally a spiritual body, and not have to take birth again in this material body. We were reading not long ago, I don't know if you're all familiar with Jayananda Prabhu, the original Jayananda Prabhu. In the West, he's somewhat glorified, at least I tend to glorify him as some other devotees. He inaugurated. Just to give you a sense of why we glorify him, is imagine if you did some service, and the result of that service, Srila Prabhupada wrote you a letter, and said to you, "You have fulfilled my heart's desire," how would that make you feel? Would anyone like to receive such a letter? So Jayananda received that letter from Srila Prabhupada. He inaugurated Rath Yatra in Fifth Avenue. He started many cities, San Francisco. To this day, if you want to do a parade in Fifth Avenue, you'll never get a permit. Won't happen. Devotees still do parades in Fifth Avenue because they've been doing it for so long. The city just lets them do the permit year after year. We could talk for hours about Jayananda. So he was very glorious in the service he did for Prabhupada, and he literally gave up his body. He had leukemia, and he got the hospital insurance money. You can see there's a little something, I think, in the beginning of Nectar Devotion. Prabhupada talks about him. He donated his life savings a couple times. He did it when he first came to the movement. Gave Prabhupada, I think it was $5,000 for Bhagavad Gita. And then later he got some insurance money that was supposed to go to all his treatments, and he gave that to the temple, bought some materials for Rath Yatra, donated some to Prabhupada for his books. And Srila Prabhupada said, "This money, you're sick, you should be using this money for your treatment." And Jayananda said, "This body is old, it's useless, I can't do much more with it, it should just be given up." And so he had this mentality that this body got to a point where it's useless, and Prabhupada wrote him a letter that it's nice that you have this mood, that the body is, you can't use it for service, it can be given up. So not that we should not take care of the body, we have to be careful. This body belongs to Krishna, and so therefore we have to maintain it nicely because it's not our property, it's Krishna's property. So therefore it should be maintained, we keep it healthy, keep it good. But sometimes birth, death, old age, disease are there, and disease will come to the body. So we understand at a certain phase this body may be not useful. The point is that the sense of I or value or worth should not be based on our body or mind or intelligence and false ego. Our identity is a constitutional, eternal servant of Krishna. Whatever flavor that service takes, that's the goal of our life, is determined. How can I serve Krishna? Can I serve him this way? Can I serve him that way? And that may change over the years. You may serve him in different ways as we go through our spiritual life. But that service is eternal. And that's our identity. And so Sati understood this. So she was able to give up this body. And there's other descriptions of then, her next life, where she went and so forth. So she did not actually stop existing. She just gave up that specific body. And then she took on other services in other bodies. So it's a really, really important point. And Prabhupada stresses, when you see his writings over and over, sometimes people think that Srila Prabhupada, I should stop and ask, what time does class end? 9 o'clock? Okay, so I'm okay still. So sometimes there's a tendency to think, or some people think, Prabhupada gave us the basics, ABC, like grade school, kindergarten, grade school, grammar school, like that. But then for higher education and higher subject matter, there's other books you can read by other people. And because if you look at the body of Srila Prabhupada's books, the works and purports, a huge proportion of his speaking was focused on this idea, you're not this body. Understand you're not this body. Bhagavad Gita, right? But if you read between the lines and you actually study his books, you'll see that yes, that's the basics, and he stressed it so much because, especially in the West, we're so completely transfixed and addicted to this body that we needed to hear over and over, I'm not this body, because we think this body is a wonderful thing. And so he had to break that understanding. But of course, as you make advancement and you understand Srimad Bhagavatam and the message of Krishna's pastimes and how Krishna interacts with his devotees, how he gives himself to his devotees, and then study the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and read Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you understand what Lord Chaitanya came to bring. It's amazing. When you stop and consider, just on a fundamental level, that this Vaishnava philosophy, teachings of Lord Chaitanya, contain the highest reality there is, the highest truth. I always get perplexed because it's the highest and it's the deepest, but those are opposing directions. But it's still true. It's the deepest thing you read and the highest thing you read is what Lord Chaitanya brought us. And it's there. Prabhupada gave it to him. In his early lectures in 1966 in New York, he started talking about Lord Chaitanya and the love of the gopis and this rasas of Krishna to young Westerners who didn't know anything. And when you think that this highest, most valuable treasure or knowledge, Lord Chaitanya came, and he came to the most unqualified people, and he begged them, please take this. Please take this. Just take this holy name. Take the chanting of this Maha Mantra. And from that, everything comes. It's just phenomenal. It's phenomenal what Lord Chaitanya did. It's even in some ways more phenomenal what Nityananda did. He took that and even expanded it to the likes of Jagai and Madai and such. And then all the way down the disciplic succession to Srila Prabhupada coming to the Bowery. I don't know if any of you ever go to America, one of the most materialistic places in the world, definitely in America, maybe in the world, but New York City is like, if you want money and power and you want to get into material enjoyment, New York is where it is. It's in other places too, but it's condensed in New York. And the Bowery was, at that time when Prabhupada came, it was run down. It's like a ghetto, not a very attractive place to be. And that's where Prabhupada went to distribute this knowledge, because that's where the people were who needed it. And they were very receptive to it. They wanted it, because some of them knew they were suffering. And so they were very eager to receive this. But generally, if we have something valuable, and when we're looking to give it to someone, we look around to see who's qualified to receive it. I'm not going to just give this to anybody. I'm going to make sure the person understands what they're getting. But this is not Lord Chaitanya's mood. Of course, to some degree, we have to become qualified. We don't just talk about Ras Leela or exotic, intricate moods of Krishna with anybody on the street. First we chant, there's a process of purification. We give up our bad habits, we follow regular principles, we chant the Maha Mantra, and then we become purified. But the point is, it's accessible to anybody. And Lord Chaitanya did not discriminate. I think His Grace Vaisheshika said something which I thought was funny. Lord Chaitanya came to give mercy to anyone who would accept it. And Nityananda came to give mercy to those who wouldn't accept it. Even if they didn't want it, then Nityananda got those. So either way, everyone's covered. You want it, here it is. You don't want it, here it is. So this is Lord Chaitanya's mercy. But when you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita and you look at the verses that Lord Chaitanya held dear to his heart, it's the topmost subject matter, the deepest sentiment of the living entity expressing love for Krishna and surrendering themselves in this mood of sati, of saying, give up this, my external this or that is not important. Krishna, let me just love you. To the point where it's quite profound. Not just let me love you, not do we worship God because we get purification, we get some benediction, please bless me. That's not the mood. The mood is, let me do that thing that pleases Krishna. And if that thing that pleases Krishna gives me some discomfort, it gives me some pain, then let that pain be my highest pleasure, because Krishna is pleased. You've probably all heard the story of Krishna had a headache one time. A little inconceivable, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead doesn't suffer. So how he gets a headache, I can't tell you. But he got a headache one day. And he said to Narada Muni, I think it was, Narada Muni could see he's not feeling so well, so what's happening? He said, well, I have this headache. Well, well, this is not good. We need to get rid of this headache. What can we do? We'll get some Ayurvedic doctor. No. just give me the dust from the feet of my devotees. Then this headache will go away. This is his mood. Whole pastime of Ambarish and Durvasa Muni, right? Krishna's pleasure is in the dust of his devotees. So Narada Muni went to try to get some dust from his devotees. And went all through the universe. I'm sure you've all heard this story. It's a wonderful example of love for Krishna. But the Brahmanas wouldn't give it, or the demigods wouldn't give it, because to take the dust from your feet, who would think I'm going to take the dust from my feet, I'm going to go on the altar, and I'm going to put it on the top of the deities? That's unthinkable. Who would do that? I would not want to do that. And so Narada Muni couldn't find anybody willing to do this. And so finally he goes to Raj and he asks the gopis, first they inquire, so how is Krishna? You've seen him? Yes, but he's not feeling too well. Oh, what's the matter? Well, he's got a headache. Oh, well, what can we do? Well, he said if he gets the dust of the feet of his devotees, then it'll make his headache go away. And what did the gopis say? Here's the dust. Here, take. How much do you want? Immediately. And Narada Muni was a little surprised. He said, well, wait, this is the Supreme Lord. You'll go to hell for that. You're violating so many Vedic injunctions to do that? Do you not care? Do you not know that? And they say, oh, no. It's not that they didn't understand. It's not that they were simple-minded and they didn't know. They say, oh, that's okay. So what? We go to hell. Who cares? Krishna's headache is gone. We're happy. So their measure of happiness was Krishna's happiness. If Krishna's happy. An important point to understand in this, it's not that Krishna wants us unhappy. When we say, I'm paraphrasing from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya's words. He's actually quoting Srimati Radharani. It's at the end of the 20th chapter of Anchalila, where he gives the Shikshastika prayers. And at the very end of that, this statement is there. He's quoting Radharani, that if Krishna, whatever may make Krishna happiness, even if it gives me some pain, let that pain be my highest pleasure. Very profound. Now, it's important to understand, it's not that Krishna wants us to experience pain. That's not the point. It's not that if we serve Krishna, we'll experience pain. No, that's not the point. The point is, just like with sati, is this body, if it's getting in the way of my service, then it's a problem. And my identity as a servant of Krishna is more important than my physical or external situation. So the gopis are understanding that the measure of happiness is if Krishna is happy. And we can translate that into our life. If the spiritual master is happy, if the devotees are happy, if they're happy, then so be it, even if it's some difficulty. And we can see this, I'm sure you've experienced in festivals of Rath Yatra or Janmashtami. We fast until midnight and there's so much service that we do. And sometimes it's a little difficult. The body gets tired, the body gets hungry, and we look at the clock and it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. It's like, oh, I have a long way to go. And so then we go and do some service and we chant and we forget about things. And then we're feeling a little better. Okay, now I can do it. Now it's 10 o'clock. And then through the whole day, and then finally it's 9 o'clock at night, and still we're waiting for midnight. So there may be some material discomfort there, but because we know this is pleasing to Krishna, we accept that. We say, no, I'm going to do this because Krishna will be happy. And so that's the idea, that's the understanding that when Krishna is happy, then these so-called material inconveniences, they go away. One time, I remember I was involved in management at one point, and I'm not a very good manager, so I was struggling with trying to understand how this all works. And I came across an exchange that was very helpful that Srila Prabhupada had with Swarup Damodar. I think it was Swarup Damodar. I might be wrong, but one of his disciples came to him, and Prabhupada, I don't know, this was in the 70s at some point, I'm not sure exactly when. But the devotee understood he was responsible for one project, and he was having some difficulty. And he went to Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I have this one project and I'm having these difficulties and understanding how to manage these things. You have so many projects, and how do you deal with all these problems? I can't even deal with this one problem, with this one thing. You have so many things. You must have so many problems. And Srila Prabhupada said, problems? He said, I don't see problems. I just see opportunities to serve my Guru Maharaj. And so when I read that, I thought, wow, I was looking at things all wrong. Srila Prabhupada's teaching us that these aren't problems, these aren't difficulties. These are opportunities to render service. And his love for his Guru Maharaj was so much that whatever came to him was just another opportunity to serve. And so then this same mood is there. Let these things that are pleasing to Krishna be my pleasure, whatever effort I need to exert. An amazing, I don't know if it's a quality of Prabhupada or just a pattern. I guess the quality would be humility, but what's interesting is whenever Prabhupada would speak about the movement and what he accomplished, or whenever anyone would glorify him for what he accomplished, and it's amazing, if you just look at the books, that's amazing. You look at all the temples he established, that's amazing. If you read the letters that he had with his disciples and how he personally dealt with them all, that's amazing. And if you look at the festivals he inaugurated, that's amazing. And the fact that he did all of those at the same time, it's hard to even see that all at one time. But whenever he was glorified, or wherever the topic came up of his accomplishments, he always gave credit to two persons, which is really one. He would say, I have done nothing. It's simply, if I have any credit, it's simply I've followed the orders of my spiritual master. So what you're seeing is my spiritual master's potency. That's all you see. And these disciples that have come to help me, and they were sent by my spiritual master. He never took credit. It was always his Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, or his disciples whom he saw as representatives of his Guru Maharaj. My Guru Maharaj has sent me these boys and girls to help me. And so this is his profound humility and his understanding this mood of let me take the essence of whatever I have and somehow render some service for it. So anyway, there was a nice letter what started me down that trail about what the Prabhupada wrote to Dayananda about this mood you have of just this body is no longer of use, you can give it up. And he wrote in this one letter that he had gone back to Godhead. So it's an important point, and Sati is teaching us that here in this verse, that we should understand who we are and what's the purpose of our life, and not get distracted with external things like the body, mind, intelligence, false ego. These things are tools that need to be trained to use them properly, but they're not our sub and substance. They're not really who we are. So I'm going to stop there and see if there's any questions or comments or corrections from anyone. We've kind of talked about a lot of different things, but does anyone have anything they would like to ask or to add? I know you're shy. I was told by my Guru Maharaj you should wait 60 seconds before, when you ask somebody this question, you should wait 60 seconds, because definitely people always have some questions, but sometimes they're either a little shy to ask or they haven't formulated it right. So fortunately, I didn't have to wait 60 seconds, and we already have a question. So thank you for that.
We welcome Devaprastha Prabhuji in Indraprastha. So Prabhuji, my question is that here we see that Sati is deeply hurt by the words of her father Daksha. So we are so touchy, especially in Kali Yuga, super touchy, super sensitive people. We also get hurt very easily. We are very hurtable. So how to become unhurtable?
How to become unhurtable? Well, that's a good question. One way, there's a couple things come to mind. The first thing is whenever something happens to us, whether someone says something or does something that causes us some pain, I guess there's two things immediately we should do. first is we should understand this is happening due to my own past activities. So I shouldn't be upset with this person. If I didn't deserve this, I wouldn't be getting it. And so that's one thing that can help us to at least not react and make things worse or continue it. And then we can go deeper and understand, okay, Krishna, what are you trying to teach me? This is feeling a little painful, but I know you're my best friend. We have to always remember every moment, Krishna's my best friend. Krishna's all-powerful, and he's my best friend and well-wisher. So whatever this thing is happening, it doesn't look like this is coming from a well-wisher. This is painful. This person said this, the person did that. I don't think they're my well-wisher. But we have to go deeper and say, no, but Krishna is allowing this to happen. So either I did something in the past and now I'm getting a reaction for it. So this is good. I'm burning off that reaction. Or Krishna's trying to teach me. He's trying to help me reduce my pride. He's trying to help me go deeper. He's trying to help me, deal with something, or both. Krishna is really good at doing multiple things with one action. So often it's both. It's, yes, some past reaction is there, but also Krishna's trying to teach us. And when we take that approach and we understand, usually when we feel pain from something somebody said or did, if we look very deeply and see, well, where is the pain? Is it here? Is it in my head? Is it in my heart? Where's the pain? It's going to be somewhere around your mind or your intelligence, or probably, usually, most of the time, your false ego. Your false ego is the one feeling the pain. It's like, this person doesn't understand who he's talking to. He doesn't understand. I'm educated, I'm a devotee, I'm doing all these things. Why is this happening? And when we understand, oh, it's my false ego, it's feeling the pain, then it's much easier to say, oh, well, who cares about the false ego? He should be pained. False ego should be kicked out on the street. Let him get all the pain he needs, because false ego needs to go away. It becomes easier to do that. But if we don't do those things, if we don't accept that this is happening because of something I did, and we don't accept, well, maybe Krishna's trying to teach me, and we don't see where we say, I feel pain, well, which I is feeling pain? The mind is saying, I want this. The senses are saying, I want that. Intelligence saying, no, 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 you want this. So which I are you going to listen to? The false ego is combining them all and saying this. So when we say, well, which I is feeling pained, we know it's not the soul. We may not know that ourselves, but the Shastra tells us, if we study Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, we'll understand the soul's not feeling pain. It's impossible. The soul's Satchidananda. It's always in bliss. It's not feeling pain. So then the pain is somewhere else. Oh, so the pain is in this superficial part of my false ego that I'm trying to destroy. So maybe it should get more pain, or something like that. I don't know if that helps. That would be my answer. And it's true, and it's hard. And this is one of the reasons why book distribution. In Vedic culture, brahmacharis would go out and beg food and bring back, or beg alms and give to the spiritual master, and whatever he would set aside for them, they would take. And so this is not an easy thing to do, to go out and distribute books, to convince a materialistic person to give up the hard-earned money they have is not an easy thing to do. To get them to take a book or accept some philosophy that goes counter to what they believe in, it's not an easy thing to do. But it breaks us down. It makes us humble. And it can be a little painful. Sometimes you have nice experiences, but these painful experiences, as much as possible, we should embrace them and say, okay, this is nice. Krishna's helping me somehow to let go of my false ego. He's teaching me how to be humble. Let me understand, what is he teaching me and why? Sometimes the purpose is for the other person. They'll be mean to us and they'll see how we react, and we don't get upset. We're just humble and we thank them, and it's like blows their mind. And then they have some spiritual growth because they see, well, didn't treat this person right, and they're not getting upset, and then that within them teaches them a lesson. So there's a lot of different things that could be going on when these things happen. So it's a great question. Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Material world is going. There's friction. It's a material world. You don't find award-winning Olympic athletes in a hospital, because hospitals where sick people are, unless they're a doctor maybe. But and so in the material world, you don't find spiritual people. It's very, very rare. People come here because they're materialistic. So we're not going to get that nice treatment here. We're here to give it to them. Let them feel loved. Let them, What did Jagai and Madai get for their offense to Nityananda? They got compassion and love of Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. They didn't get punished. They almost got punished. Lord Chaitanya was definitely planning to punish them. But Nityananda said, no, your incarnation is mercy. You have to give them mercy. So just tolerating things is giving mercy to others. I have
Any other question?
Any other questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. I don't know how does it fit in the today's lecture context, but my question is, yesterday I was listening to Prabhupada glorification and Hare
Hold the mic close, because I'm
audible? Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
So yesterday I was listening to glorification by Her Grace Malti Mataji. So she was saying like Prabhupada, when he came to the West, so he experienced after he had 2 heart attacks, so the third one came in the San Francisco when he was there. So I was thinking like how the Prabhupada was trying so hard to preach in the West country and he was still facing so many problems. So what do you think? Like there are two kinds of kripa, like conditioned kripa and the unconditioned kripa, ahetu ki kripa. So was it Srila Prabhupada's wanted to give this kripa, or was it destined? Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my bhakt will come and he will spread the Krishna consciousness all over. So what do you think? It was his unconditional kripa, or was it destined? Though Srila Prabhupada is a Nitya Bhagwan Sevak, so what do you think? Was it like actually why so much he was suffering there?
Let me understand. So when you say testing, are you asking, was Srila Prabhupada being tested?
The scenario was very difficult for him.
For the first,
to preach. Yeah, it was very difficult.
Yeah.
What understanding should we take from that experience?
So it's a great question. There was in Prabhupada's appearance day last year or earlier this year, there's a devotee, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he made a comment. He said, you could write a whole book entitled The Failures of Srila Prabhupada. You actually could. There's a lot of things Prabhupada tried to do that did not work. And if you read his letters and study his life during the boat trip over in the Jaladuta in the first year in New York, there were a lot of things he tried to do that didn't work. But what you see when you study that period, and even later, he had opposition. There's a nice book written by Mula Prakriti, a really nice book explaining what Prabhupada went through in Vrindavan. It was eye-opening for me, because when he brought Western disciples back to Vrindavan, he wasn't warmly welcomed at first. The Vaishnava culture in Vrindavan, these Westerners, they were very new, and they made a lot of mistakes and offenses, and so it was hard, and Srila Prabhupada got some resistance. So there was a lot of difficulties, heart attacks and different things. My personal understanding is that it's Krishna's way of showing us how a pure devotee is just completely focused on serving Krishna regardless of any obstacles. When you study how Prabhupada dealt with those difficulties, he said about that first year in New York, and if you read, there's a book published, I think it was Sesha Prabhu, the diary, Prabhupada's diary. It's a blue book, not real thick. And every day it has entries from Prabhupada's diary, and it talks about what went on in New York. He would go across, and New York's very cold in the winter. And he would go to bookstores and put his book on consignment and get a few dollars. They didn't sell a lot, but and then he would go buy some vegetables. And it was a very hard period. That's when he was staying with Dr. Mishra and different places. But it was a lot of struggle. And Prabhupada said about that time, he said, I never felt alone. I always felt the presence of my Guru Maharaj. And so I don't think he was being tested in terms of his determination. I think he's liberated soul. He came here to expand Lord Chaitanya's movement, but he showed us the sheer determination. And when you see the letters of the early days, he would tell his disciples, he stayed in Butler, Sally Agarwal, where he first stayed in Pennsylvania. He told her, apparently she was a good cook, and he wrote her a letter saying, you should come to New York and open a restaurant. You'll be famous for your restaurants. You'll have plenty of money to live, and it'll be very nice. So he was always writing letters to people. He tried so many things. He would write letters to the government. And it's really quite profound. Okay? He would write a letter to the government saying, you should give me some money or a building for a temple. And when you read this letter, Srila Prabhupada was very humble. As I said before, he gave credit to his Guru Maharaj. He gave credit to disciples. He accepted no credit. When he wrote these letters to the government, he would invoke the full authority of the Parampara. He said, I am a Tridanda sannyasi in the line of my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Swami, back to Lord Chaitanya. He would saying, look, I am a spiritual representative of the absolute truth, and you should give me help because we're here to save the future of mankind. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but he wrote very powerfully. And sometimes people would give him help, and sometimes they didn't. But what was amazing wasn't that Srila Prabhupada always knew exactly what to do and what's going to work and what's not going to work. He was just relentless. He said no matter what, he's not going to give up. If it fails 100 times, he's going to just do it 101 times. He's just going to keep doing. If this doesn't work, I'll try this. If that doesn't work, I'll try that. So he never saw it as being tested by Krishna. He just saw, okay, what's Krishna's plan? This isn't working, so then let me go try this other thing. And his force of will, his determination to fulfill the orders of his spiritual master was so powerful and so burned into him. He just kept going. And so it didn't matter, heart attack or someone steals his typewriter, steals his manuscript. Myself, if half of those things happen, I would have thought, okay, Krishna doesn't want this to happen. I'll give up and go back to India. Or I'll clearly Krishna is telling me not to do this, But Prabhupada's, that's because I'm looking at my own welfare and thinking this struggle is too much. Prabhupada's not seeing that. He's saying, no, I know this is what Krishna wants because my Guru Maharaj told me to do it. So there's no question if that's what he wants. The question is how to do it. And so I did this and that didn't work, so I'll do this and I'll do this. And then if something worked, he did more of it. And if it didn't work, then he'd say, okay, well, that's not working, I'll do something else. So I don't know if that answers your question.
So that means his Guru Maharaj wishes is more important than giving mercy to all the people?
What's that?
To fulfill his Guru Maharaj's wish is more important than giving causeless mercy to the other people. Well,
no, they're one and the same. Because the order of his spiritual master, what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati instructed him to do was take this knowledge and give it to others. Preach it to... And I just heard recently, he didn't actually tell him to go to America. He said, just preach to Westerners. Give this to Westerners. And Prabhupada said, well, the best place to do that is in the West. So he decided, I'll go to New York. But fulfilling the orders of his spiritual master, the order of the spiritual master was to distribute Lord Chaitanya's mission, the holy name, distribute this knowledge to conditioned souls. That's the order. And what is the essence of distributing the knowledge? It's compassion. I mean, it's delivering the fallen soul. That Lord Chaitanya's mission, his whole mission, is to relieve the suffering of materialistic persons. I remember complaining. I used to go visit my Guru Maharaj every year, and I still go, not as often, but I used to complain almost every time I'd see him because I worked in the corporate world for most of my devotional life, and I would just complain in different ways. I would find creative devotional ways to say it, but basically I'd complain about how I have to associate with all these non-devotees. Of course, I could have just given up and moved in the temple, which I did. Several times I gave up and moved in the temple, and then. But anyway, long story short, one time I guess he got a little tired of me with this repeating mood, and he said, He said, you know, Prabhupada wrote these books for non-devotees. He didn't write them for devotees. He wrote them to make devotees. He wrote them for materialistic people to become devotees. And so that it made me realize I'm looking at the whole equation wrong. I'm seeing us and them, that, you know, we're devotees, and these non-devotees who have to work with, have to associate with us. No, they're also devotees. They just don't know it yet. They just haven't, you know, gotten to that point. But I shouldn't see them as them and us. I should just see them as, oh yes, these are the people that we're here. This is why we're here, is to give people this knowledge, this compassion. So it's one and the same. The order of the spiritual master is to deliver the compassion to fallen souls. Is that okay? Okay. So there's another hand in the back. Where's Sri Gaur Prabhu? He's my... Okay, you're my authority here. Can I keep asking questions? It's after 9 o'clock. Last one. Okay. Okay, I'm at the... there was a hand. Yes?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much for this lecture, Prabhuji. My question is that you said that, Prabhuji, this body does not belong to us. This belongs to Krishna, and we should take care of the body. So what does taking care of the body exactly mean? And if we start taking care of the body, will we not get entangled into this bodily consciousness? Like we'll get attached to the body, which is not our goal. We have to get detached. So how do we understand this?
So, I'm going to repeat your question, make sure I heard it, because my hearing isn't great, and I had 3 hours of sleep since the plane, so my brain isn't completely functional. So let me make sure I heard you. So we understand that our job is it's a responsibility to take care of the body, but if we're not careful in doing that, then we become attached to it and we get distracted, and then we're just doing material things, making the body nice. And is that how to not let that happen? Is that your question?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So it's a great question. The two things that jump out first to my mind and answer is, one, a statement that my Guru Maharaj made. He said, you should take care of your car, the inside of your car. You should take as nice care of your car as you do the altar where the deities reside, because this car belongs to Krishna. And so in the same way, the body. And he actually asked Srila Prabhupada once, how much time should I dedicate? Because in the early days, devotees would neglect their bodies, you know. And so he said, how much time should I set aside? And Prabhupada gave two different answers to do. This was one answer he gave him. He gave another answer to someone else. So I'll give you two different answers to that same question. So how much time should I spend maintaining the body as opposed to making garlands or doing devotional service, cooking, whatever? And Prabhupada said 2 hours, like to brush your teeth and eat and keep it clean and do all those things in the course of a day, roughly 2 hours. It's not like it has to be 2, it can be a little less, a little more. But, you know, in other words, dedicate some time. You should allot some time to take care of it. Another devotee asked the same question. He phrased the question a little different. I don't remember exactly how he worded it. Something like, you know, how do I balance or separate, you know, my material responsibilities versus my spiritual responsibilities? Kind of the same question in different language. And Prabhupada's answer was a little different. He didn't say 2 hours. He just said separate. He said, what? He said, oh, I think the question was something like, you know, well, how much, you know, personal time should I allocate to take care of myself? And Prabhupada said, personal, no personal. So 100% Krishna, 0 personal. You know? So if we take those two things, 2 hours but 0 personal, the understanding is this is Krishna's body. There is no personal. It belongs to him. Therefore, I should use some time to maintain it for him. But in terms of what I do with it, everything's for him. So and that includes recreation. When I was a young devotee, this was a really, really powerful experience I had. I was living in the apartment with my Guru Maharaj, and he was doing communications work. So back in, I don't know if they have faxes these days, but they used to have fax machines. they'd have a roll of paper, and a telephone call would come, it'd connect, and then this paper would come out of the machine. And so my job, I would get the fax, I would cut it up and staple it so it's like pages. That way you could communicate across the world, with different people. And now you have email and stuff, you don't need faxes so much. But he got a fax one day, and in big bold letters, urgent, crisis, immediate, help, help. And so it was really long. I cut it up, it was like 6 or 8 pages. And I thought, well, something's going on in some crisis, and I took it into his office, I put it on his desk, and I just expected he would immediately drop everything and deal with this, because it had, picture one page with like 3 words on it, urgent, call now, it's like you could feel the urgency in this letter. And he said, okay, well, set it on my desk, I'm going to go out and chant some rounds and go swimming, and I'll come back and deal with it. And I was like, I was completely bewildered. I couldn't understand. Well, he's not dealing with this immediately. But what I learned over the years that you have to he understood, he knew, well, I have to chant my rounds or I can't do any service. If I don't get exercise, fresh air, some swimming, then my body will deteriorate. I won't be able to think clearly. I won't be able to do my service. So he was in it for the long haul. He knew what he had to do today so that he could still do this same thing 50 years from now. Because if I just do everything today and then 5 years later I get burned out or I get sick or something. And so he understood, okay, he regulated, these things have to be done, and then this energy, and sure enough, he did that. He went out, he chanted his japa, he went and did his exercise, and he came back, and he was up half the night dealing with this thing until all hours. But it taught me that lesson of there's not balance, everything for Krishna, but we have to set aside some time just to maintain so that we have energy. We have to eat properly, eat healthy things, get exercise, do things that maintain our strengths so that we have strength to give to Krishna. So I hope that helps answer your question. And I'm probably over time now. So, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all for your enthusiasm. It's very enlivening.
Hare Krishna devotees, आज का feast, today's feast is sponsored by His Grace Jagat Bandhu Shyam Prabhu ji ki jai. So Prabhu ji उनकी family ने आज की feast sponsor की है. So please kindly do honor the feast. So we pray for Prabhu ji as well as his family by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jagat Bandhu Shyam Prabhu ji ki jai, unki family ki jai.